Bhu Srinivasan, Americana, A 400-Year History of American Capitalism. Embark on a fascinating journey through 4 centuries of American capitalism in the book Americana, A 400-Year History of American Capitalism by Bhu Srinivasan. Discover how the voyage of the Mayflower to New England was financed, the impact of the New World on early trade, and the growth of American capitalism from the tobacco business to modern tech giants. Explore the essential roles that complex financial systems, groundbreaking technology, and governmental regulation played in shaping the United States market economy. This captivating summary offers an engaging and powerful overview of the pivotal moments and decision-makers in American capitalism.
Pioneering America, Finance and Freedom. The founding of America goes hand in hand with the pioneering spirit of venture capitalism. The Mayflower settlers journeyed to the New World in 1620, backed by English investors seeking profitable ventures. This early partnership between capitalism and American life set the stage for future conflict and the pursuit of independence. The Mayflower's voyage to New England was funded by an early form of venture capital from small investors via the Virginia Company of London. They hedged their bets, hoping for a significant windfall if the trip succeeded. They struck gold with trading opportunities in the New World, beginning with luxurious beaver pelts obtained through trade with Native Americans. This initial success built a strong economic foundation, further bolstered by the flourishing tobacco trade on Virginian and Maryland farmlands, powered by an enslaved workforce. By the 18th century, the tobacco industry dominated America's exports, comprising 80% of shipments to England. However, the financial relationship between the colonies and Great Britain appeared increasingly unbalanced. The issue of taxation without representation came to the fore. The English Parliament imposed taxes on the colonies without any representation, most notably through the 1765 Stamp Act, which levied a fee on official documents. Resentment mounted as Americans like Daniel Delaney and Benjamin Franklin fought, and temporarily succeeded, in repealing the Stamp Act. But tensions persisted, culminating in the Boston Tea Party of 1773, where protesters dumped a ship's cargo of tea in the harbor. These acts marked the beginning of the Revolutionary War and America's pursuit of independence. So, the story of America began not just with a quest for freedom but with the foundational relationship between the nation and capitalism. Early settlers sought to break free from their old purpose, generating profits for distant English investors, and create a new world that celebrated the merging of finance and freedom. Transforming American transportation. In the early days of the United States, the country reaped the benefits of its rich geography, especially the thriving cotton industry in the South. However, its vast size made it challenging to travel within America. Thus, a revolution in transportation began, shaping the nation's economy and way of life. Starting with steamboats in the late 18th century, followed by extensive canal projects like the Erie Canal of 1825, and eventually the rise of railroads in the 1830s, the nation transformed its transportation infrastructure. These advancements in transportation relied heavily on the cooperation between private companies and local governments, refuting the idea of completely laissez-faire capitalism. The abundant American landscapes provided excellent conditions for agriculture, especially cotton production in the South, resulting in a booming global cotton supply. However, the country had to find ways to overcome the difficulties of traversing its sprawling landscape. This challenge led to an era of revolutionary transportation advancements. Steamboats were the first major breakthrough. Prior to their creation, transportation depended on water currents and wind, making travel slow and unpredictable. In the 1780s, the state of New York promoted the development of steam-powered boats, granting entrepreneur Robert Livingston a monopoly on commercial river transit. Together with engineer Robert Fulton, the first steamboat was introduced in 1807. This invention opened up America's waterways to a competitive marketplace, propelling individuals like Cornelius Vanderbilt into immense wealth. However, rivers could not connect every crucial location, leading to the creation of artificial waterways, such as the Erie Canal. Completed in 1825, the canal connected Buffalo to Albany in New York, enabling smooth travel from Chicago to New York City. This public infrastructure investment significantly boosted commerce, and the concept was replicated across the country. With the progression of the Industrial Revolution, railroads overtook canals as the most efficient method of transportation. The 1830s marked the beginning of the railroad era, offering faster transport, trade, and communication. Railroad companies sprouted, seeking government assistance in the form of eminent domain, which allowed them to commandeer private land for the laying of tracks. Railroads became an indispensable part of the American economy, providing extensive employment opportunities. The development of American transportation infrastructure, from steamboats to canals and railroads, challenged the notion of laissez-faire capitalism. The unprecedented progress hinged on the delicate balance between private companies and government support, defining the true essence of early American ventures. These transportation innovations enabled America to conquer its vast geography, uniting the country and solidifying its status as an economic powerhouse. Gold, oil, and America's ascendance. The Mexican-American War of 1846–48 gifted the USA territory in the West, including soon-to-be-rich California. The subsequent gold rush drew countless fortune seekers, leading to California's fast track to statehood as a free state. This move, however, heightened tension between the North and South, eventually igniting the Civil War. Despite the secession, the North thrived on natural resources and the industrial boom, laying the foundation for America's meteoric ascent. In the mid-19th century, the Mexican-American War granted the United States immense amounts of Western territory, coinciding with the fortuitous discovery of gold in California. This irresistible allure ignited the legendary gold rush, with scores of Americans venturing west to strike it rich despite the transportation infrastructure's lack of readiness. This widespread pursuit of wealth accelerated California's inclusion into the Union as a free state, causing significant problems. The delicate balance between free and slave states tottered, infuriating the southern slave states. This clash of interests fanned the simmering political tensions that would ultimately culminate in civil war. The South's prosperity hinged on the abhorrent business of slavery. Not only did enslaved people serve as the backbone of the cotton plantations, but they also functioned as loan collateral. Slavery effectively formed the economic foundation of the entire South. Consequently, this spawned an inflated economy, with nearly 4 million enslaved people in 1859 valued at an astronomical $2.8 billion. In comparison, railroad track value and federal government spending were $1 billion and $69 million, respectively. It was evident that, as horrifying as it was, enslaved people served as America's most valuable asset. However, even with its internal slave trade and external cotton trade profits, the South's riches made it an easy target. During the Civil War, the North blockaded the southern ports, halting all trade. This strategic move crippled the South, causing a severe shortage of resources. In stark contrast, the North thrived economically, maintaining its iron imports and expanding its rail network with the 1862 Pacific Railway Act. Aside from resource advantages, a significant discovery took place in Pennsylvania in 1859, oil. American capitalism would be utterly transformed once slavery was abolished. The United States' wealth in gold and oil positioned it as a land ripe with natural resources. Further, its people showcased ambitious ingenuity, promising an even more valuable asset for the nation's growth. As the 19th century unfolded, this potent combination of factors vaulted America into a period of unparalleled ascendance. Pioneers and Innovators of America. America's history was shaped by great inventions and the brilliant minds behind them. The typewriter developed by E. Remington and Sons opened doors for female employment, while Thomas Edison's practical innovations in telegraphy and the light bulb garnered support from powerful financiers. Innovations weren't limited to products. A.T. Stewart revolutionized shopping by turning it into an enjoyable experience, paving the way for department stores. Among these visionaries, John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie rose to exceptional prominence and success. From the cotton gin to the world of telegraphy pioneered by Samuel Morse, America was no stranger to the transformative power of outstanding inventions. The rapid transmission of messages across vast distances played a monumental role, particularly during the Civil War. However, the most striking surge of innovations and technology emerged following the war. One such influential invention was the typewriter. Born out of necessity, E. Remington and Sons, a gun-making company, shifted its focus when firearms demand plummeted. This contraption not only produced words but generated employment opportunities, with women being encouraged to pursue typing careers. Another essential innovation came in the form of artificial light. Thomas Edison, a remarkably skilled inventor with a keen eye for practicality, held over 1,000 patents, including the light bulb. He attracted the attention and support of influential figures such as William H. Vanderbilt and J.P. Morgan. Although the first significant breakthrough in artificial lighting belonged to Charles Brush, Edison's bulb proved superior. By 1882, his invention illuminated numerous offices in New York City, including the New York Times headquarters. Innovation materialized beyond tangible products, as A.T. Stewart, an Irish immigrant, introduced a novel approach to shopping. In a radical departure from traditional methods, Stewart moved goods from behind counters to the store's forefront, assigned fixed prices, and transformed shopping into an enjoyable experience. The opening of his department store, Stewart's Cast Iron Palace, in 1862 marked a turning point in retail history. Stewart's innovative spirit amassed him a staggering fortune of $40 to $50 million. He belonged to a group of Americans who excelled not only in invention but also in business, with two men standing out among the rest, John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie. Their remarkable achievements and legacies remain a testament to the visionary minds that shaped America's past and paved the way for its future. Masters of the Gilded Age. During the Gilded Age, American entrepreneurs saw limitless opportunities, with oil and steel being the chief commodities. John D. Rockefeller revolutionized the oil industry by scaling up operations and refining processes, creating the immensely successful Standard Oil. Meanwhile, Andrew Carnegie, an immigrant and philanthropist, conquered the emerging steel industry after recognizing its superior qualities over iron. However, even with their success, government intervention began to play a larger role in the nation's economy, posing challenges to these industrial giants. Affectionately named by Mark Twain, the Gilded Age was a time of immense opportunities for American entrepreneurs and investors. Although not immediately apparent, the value of oil soon became clear as a critical fuel source. The complex process of extracting, transporting, and refining oil was the key to maximizing efficiency and success in this new industry. John D. Rockefeller, a young businessman who co-founded an oil firm, grasped the potential in this market and embraced the concept of scaling. Confident in his financial abilities, Rockefeller borrowed enormous sums and focused on long-term growth over immediate profits. By vastly expanding his refinement facilities, he created a sleek, streamlined production process. After buying out his partners at a considerable cost, his company, Standard Oil, became a monumental investment. Likewise, Andrew Carnegie, a Scottish immigrant, seized opportunities in the burgeoning steel market. Primarily self-taught, Carnegie left his telegraph office job when his early investments began to generate significant income. Unlike traditional entrepreneurs, his vision stretched beyond wealth accumulation, and he aimed to give back philanthropically. But the Gilded Age was not without turbulence, as demonstrated by a vast market crash in 1873. Despite the setback, Carnegie persevered and refocused his efforts on the steel industry, understanding that steel was a stronger, more durable alternative to iron, making it ideal for railroads. Yet, even his industrious ventures required government assistance to thrive. Facing stiff competition from cheaper British steel, the U.S. Congress imposed a tariff on imported steel to nurture and safeguard its domestic industry. This allowed the United States to eventually boast the world's largest steel industry. The era also marked the beginning of an increasingly active government role in the economy. This newfound involvement wasn't always welcomed by prominent figures such as Rockefeller and Carnegie, foreshadowing economic and political challenges to come. Trusts, strikes, and government. The late 19th century was a time of great change in American industry, with both labor disputes and growing monopolistic trusts demanding attention. As strikes erupted over efficiency cutbacks, government assistance shifted to protect the interests of business, as seen in 1892 with the Pennsylvania governor's deployment of troops in support of the strike-opposed H.C. Frick Coke Company. At the same time, the Democrats emerged as champions of the working class under the leadership of William Jennings Bryan in 1896. While Bryan lost his presidential bids to the pro-business Republicans, the landscape shifted once again with the presidency of Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt prided himself on his commitment to antitrust policy, addressing the contemporary issue of monopolistic corporations culminating in the creation of the first-ever billion-dollar company, United States Steel Corporation. As opposed to outlawing these trusts, Roosevelt believed in limiting and regulating their growth to balance the interests of labor, capital, and the public. Upton Sinclair's shocking 1906 novel, The Jungle, revealed the disturbing reality of a meatpacking factory's unhygienic practices, pushing the government to further extend its regulatory responsibilities. In response to the national outrage, Theodore Roosevelt pushed for the passage of the Federal Meat Inspection Act by Congress, giving the consumer protection a boost over strictly capitalist pursuits. Ultimately, Theodore Roosevelt's presidency set the stage for an increasingly active role the government would play in shaping American capitalism throughout the 20th century. By focusing on balancing the needs of labor, capital, and the public, he helped navigate between the competing desires of worker rights and big business growth. Government's evolving economic role. Technological advancements from the early 20th century to the 1930s led to an increasingly involved government role in the economy in the United States. The transformation began with World War I, where the government invested in communication technology like radio and provided funding to various industries to strengthen its military. Post-war, the government continued to regulate industries, most notably during the Prohibition era. The Great Depression marked a historic point emphasizing the government's responsibility for maintaining the economy, best exemplified by President Roosevelt's New Deal. As new technology emerged in the early 20th century, the necessity for government intervention became apparent. For example, the automobile boom demanded regulations to avoid chaos and disaster on the streets. Additionally, the government realized the value of radio during wartime and sought to develop it further. World War I, which saw the United States enter in 1917, catalyzed the government's more active involvement in various sectors. Radio technology was integral for communication with ships, while the underprepared military required substantial investments. This led to an increase of the government budget from $734 million in 1916 to $12.7 billion in 1918, fueled primarily by income tax revenues. As a result, the government became the largest client for industries like shipbuilding, gunmaking, and steel. Railroad operations were effectively brought under government control as well. The government's involvement continued beyond the war. Prohibition in 1920 was made possible in part due to the state's decreased reliance on alcohol taxation, thanks to the income tax. However, prohibition resulted in the growth of black markets and bootlegging. Despite these setbacks, the United States saw prosperity in the 1920s. However, the stock market crashed in 1929, initiating the Great Depression. This catastrophe revealed a weak governmental response. Treasury Secretary Andrew Mellon believed the market would correct itself and didn't intervene, causing conditions to worsen. Many banks failed and unemployment reached soaring heights. This crisis led to President Hoover's loss in the 1932 election, and President Franklin Delano Roosevelt subsequently took office. Acknowledging the government's responsibility for the economy, Roosevelt introduced the New Deal, securing extensive powers from Congress. These measures included a temporary closure of all banks and abandoning the gold standard. This revolutionary move was reminiscent of the wartime government expansion and solidified its commitment to maintaining the nation's economic well-being. Rise of suburbia post-World War II. The U.S. was better prepared for World War II than World War I, and President Roosevelt scaled up the country's military efforts in anticipation. After the war, over 15 million soldiers returned to civilian life, creating a significant demand for housing. Developer Bill Levitt capitalized on this by creating an entire town on Long Island, using a uniform, efficient construction approach reminiscent of Henry Ford's assembly line. This marked the beginning of suburban living, which became popular among white Americans. However, discriminatory practices excluded African American families from these new communities, resulting in racial tensions and the persistence of urban segregation. The growth of suburbia, coupled with the expansion of the road network, initiated a massive cultural shift in America during the post-war era. Highways' impact on American icons. In 1956, President Eisenhower introduced a $33 billion highway bill aimed at creating 41,000 miles of interstate highways to connect major cities across America. This development had unforeseen consequences, including the decline of many roadside businesses like Harlan Sanders Gas Station, Diner, and Motel in Corbin, Kentucky. However, this setback led Sanders to franchise his fried chicken recipe, giving rise to the iconic Kentucky Fried Chicken. Meanwhile, in San Bernardino, California, the McDonald brothers developed an efficient food preparation system that caught the attention of milkshake machine seller Ray Kroc, who became a franchisee and expanded the McDonald's brand throughout the country. Although interstate highways disrupted certain businesses, they also contributed to the success of others, ultimately reshaping the nation's economy. As cars became increasingly dominant, the country's reliance on oil grew, leading to a dependency on Middle Eastern oil and a shift in the balance of imports and exports for the first time since the 19th century. The birth of tech giants. The United States has been the birthplace of numerous technological achievements and breakthroughs, dating as far back as 1890, when Herman Hollerith tapped into the potential of punch cards for data storage, leading to the inception of IBM. Over the years, IBM and the rise of the computing industry garnered massive growth, and innovative minds like Ross Perot were quick to seize the opportunity. In 1968, Perot created electronic data systems, which later made him the first tech billionaire and paved the way for countless startups. That same year, Intel, a Silicon Valley leader, was founded by Bob Noyce and Gordon Moore, who had already experienced success in the tech world at Fairchild Semiconductor. Other Fairchild Semiconductor graduates ventured into the field of venture capital, giving way to the fiercely influential firms of Kleiner Perkins and Sequoia. This funding model, reminiscent of the journey of the Mayflower, would propel tech companies to new heights and fascinating achievements. From finance to tech titans. Financial innovations in the late 20th century weren't solely bound to computing. Infamous junk bonds and Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway exemplified ventures in pure money-making. As the century drew to a close, the burgeoning economics of Silicon Valley lured many with the wave of young tech companies making vast fortunes, such as Netscape and Yahoo. However, some would fizzle, such as Netscape, outmaneuvered by Microsoft's free browser. The dot-com bubble phenomenon saw failures like Time Warner's merger with AOL, which was soon overtaken by broadband technology. Contrarily, Apple, a struggling company in the 1990s, would set the stage in the 21st century, impacting numerous industries through its innovation. When Apple's co-founder, Steve Jobs, passed away in 2011, protesters of the Occupy Wall Street movement mourned the capitalist icon. American capitalism, filled with contradictions, has historically worked hand in hand with democracy, driving national development and innovation but often requiring a steadying hand.
Having explored the fascinating history of American capitalism through Bhu Srinivasan's Americana, we have seen how the nation has been deeply connected to capitalism since its very beginning. From the financing of the Mayflower and the tobacco trade to the modern tech giants and entrepreneurs, The balance between private enterprise and governmental intervention has played a significant role in shaping the United States economy. Reflecting on the past offers valuable insight into the importance of striking the right balance between these forces towards achieving prosperity and innovations on a national and global scale.